Okay, so we're going to pick up quick where we left off in the last video. So we're going to talk about this first one here that we have circled in green or boxed in green. So the trend is and we're going to talk about the x-axis. So as time increases, or as we get closer to present time, the concentration of CO2. And now I see kind of an increase and a decrease and an increase and a decrease. So we can say it increases and decreases. Another word, though, to talk about increase and decrease is to say that it fluctuates. So as time increases, the concentration of CO2 fluctuates. Okay, that is the first graph. Now we can also talk about the second graph. So the second graph is looking at 1750 to about 2010 or maybe 2015 here. So our second trend, we can see that this, when we zoom in on this part of our graph, is very different. So this trend, I'm going to write it right on the graph, is as time, I'm going to say changes, and I'm going to give specifics from 1750 to 2000-ish. The level of CO2 increases. Okay. Now, what I want to point out on this graph is that over time, so looking back at that first graph, over time it's fluctuating, but it's kind of staying in this middle region until this end part right here. And if you notice, it jumps way up. So right now in time, we are at the highest CO2 levels that we have seen in the last 800,000 years. So this is really where our issue is coming in, is that we are at higher CO2 levels than we have ever measured. The way that we can measure CO2 levels from 800,000 years ago is by taking core samples, so digging way deep down into the earth, especially up at the North and South Poles where there is ice. We can take ice core samples and measure these levels directly. We can also use computer computations or computer systems to try and kind of guess what they would be. Okay? So that was this slide here. So we can take ice core samples, we can dig way down and get oxygen that is kind of saved in these ice bubbles and actually directly measure what was in our atmosphere when that froze. So anyways, there are a few more graphs. And what I want you to do is to look at them, tell me what the X and the Y axis is, and then identify one trend for each of these graphs. You might be writing about something different than the person next to you because there's multiple things on these graphs, okay? So good luck.